Capital raising is frustrating, but when you realize some of the dumb things that you do, it becomes even more frustrating. In this video, we're going to be talking about the 10 amazingly simple and dumb things that you can do to absolutely up your capital raising. Like the video, give it a thumbs up, share it to anyone that you feel might be relevant, and also subscribe to our channel for more content just like this. In the last 11 years, working with over 1,500 companies, we have seen some incredibly dumb things that people have done and also that I've done myself during the capital raising process. In doing this video, I want to take you through the top 10. Now, if you found you have done some of these, don't send me any hate mail. Just understand that I've probably done it myself as well. The whole idea about this video is to not shame anyone. The whole idea about this video is to let you know what is, how can we say it, appropriate and also what is inappropriate when you're going through the capital raising process. Because sometimes we make super simple mistakes that end up biting us when we're going through the process. I want to make it as easy for you as possible. So let's go through the top 10. Number 1, okay, getting your assistant to follow up on your capital raising registrations of interest. I kid you not, one of the craziest things I've seen, we watched one of our clients get a whole bunch of interest in their capital raising. First thing they actually did was they got their assistant to follow up with the investors to help try and convert them in the capital raising. Amazingly, they were unable to raise any money, right? This is probably more common than what you would actually expect. So number 1, do not get your assistant to follow up on your capital raising inquiries. Okay, number 2, this was one of my favorite things that I saw that I just wanted to slap myself in the face. Actually, I thought about punching myself in the face when I saw this one. So once again, we promoted a client. They received 140 registrations of interest. We were enthusiastic for the client. We were excited about it. Their advisor got that email list. I kid you not. They actually sent an email out to that entire list. They didn't even reference the individual name, and they CC'd every single other person on that list. If you want to highlight one of the top 10 ways, I just could not think of a better example to include in this list. Sending out 140 emails and CCing every other person that got in that email and just writing hi, comma. Not even a personal email to that person that just expressed interest in the capital raise. That is number 2 on the top 10 list of amazingly dumb, simple things you can do to fuck up your capital raising. Okay, number 3, here we go. Another one, not so much, I'm going to be as harsh on this one as what the other one is, but it's a common one that companies do. Once again, we promoted the company, we had 120 registrations of interest come in, and what the founder decided to do as a first step, he thought, you know what? I want to cull this list as simple as possible to get down to the people that are really serious. So what they did as a first move, their first email to that list was, thanks so much for your interest. Can you please sign this NDA before we give you access to any more information? Now, if you want to make sure that no investor actually wants to reply to you, that is probably one of the best ways to go about it. Now look, I know you're passionate, you're sensitive, you're worried about your information going out. Just go have a look online about how many investors actually love signing NDAs as a first step in a capital raising. You will find that it's none, right? So that is number 3 on the list. Trying to get an investor to sign an NDA as a first step before a first discussion, before a first anything. Number 4. Now, this was a new one for me, and it's a bit of a tricky one. Now, the company thought they were doing the right thing in this process. What they actually did was I had a conversation with them, and I was asking them how they're going with their capital raising, and they said, we're going really, really well. What we've got, because of the size of the investors that we're dealing with, we've got different people dealing with different investors. Now, in managing a capital raising process, for me, I am the only one that will manage the capital raise, and I've got one other team member that I would work with to do it because they've got specific corporate advisory experience and have actually worked with the investors before. So number 4 on the list is having multiple people, and I mean, when I say multiple, more than 2 people in your team actually manage the capital raising process with investors. Even in investment banks, they will have a lead person that is managing the capital raise and then actually is doing all the discussions and negotiations with investors, right? They do not spread it out to a team of 5 people. They have one person that leads the discussion. They do have other team members that work with them on the capital raising, but they have one person that leads the discussions with potential investors, right? If it's 2, because you need someone else to help you, make sure that they have actually raised money beforehand. Just because they know your product, that doesn't mean they can like I'm still learning about the capital raising process, right? So let alone having 4 team members, right, be involved, 4 or 5 team members be involved, that is one of the worst things that you could do to try and get. In fact, to give you an idea, I had an investor send me an email because I asked them how they're going to discussions. Their first feedback was, we let go of the opportunity because they were significantly disorganized and it was like the founder didn't want to speak to any investors, right? That was the feedback from an investor and they were a very significant size fund. So that is number 4 on the list. Okay, number 5. This was another favorite one for me. One of our significant investors in Singapore, once again, one of the ways that we get feedback about clients is we like to ask investors, especially when we know them, we ask them how they're going with their discussions. And we know that they express interest into our client. And I was back in Singapore and the investor said, "Oh, Steve, I've got a funny story for you." I said, "Sure." He goes, "Do you remember when you were here last time?" I was like, "Yeah." So that time before was like 4 months ago. He goes, "Well, we expressed interest in one of your companies and we gave them a list of questions that we wanted answered." He goes, "Would you like to know how long it took them to reply to our list of questions?" I go, "Sure, come and surprise me." 4 months. Let me make this absolutely clear. If it takes you 4 months to reply to investors' questions about your business, that opportunity is what you could wholeheartedly call dead. Absolutely dead. So number 5 on the list is taking months and months to reply to an investor's list of questions. So that rounds out your top 5 so far. Now we're moving into part 2 of our top 10 amazingly simple and dumb things that you can do to absolutely up your capital raising. Let's move to number 6. Number 6 is raising money is emotional. I've said this so many times and I want to try and over communicate the emotional process. Like it is literally a daily roller coaster because some days you get accepted, some days you're getting rejected. What you shouldn't do is change the share price multiple times within the space of a period based on your emotions. So I'll give you the context. One of our favorite clients, right, very emotional soul, gets very enthusiastic from conversation to conversation, right? And sometimes he's talking to some substantially large companies. Now, what happened was when actually going through the capital raising process, he was getting so emotional about it that what happened was he'd actually start to change the share price. If you want to make sure that investors have absolutely no confidence in you whatsoever, do not treat your share price as if it's an emotion, as if it's your own sort of, let's say, exchange based on your emotions, right? So not one day up, next day down, etc. I kid you not. Changing your share price multiple times is one of the most ways to make sure that you are not only going to not receive money, but absolutely turn it away in droves, right? So number 6 is do not change your share price based on your emotions, based on the fear and enthusiasm that you're having on a day-to-day basis, right? It's just how it is, right? Keep it the same. Number 7, okay. When you're communicating with investors, the best way we describe it is investors have ADHD or a borderline ADHD. No different to probably myself or yourself as a founder, right? We are, sometimes can be very impatient. We like information coming to us fast and we often move fast. We were working with a client and we wanted to understand, why they were having troubles with raising money. And we got the answer delivered to us in our inbox. It was a family office that we had introduced this opportunity to, and he reached out to one of our staff and he said, "Look, I just want to have a quick chat with you." I'm like, "Sure." So he gets on the phone and said, "Look, I just had a communication from one of your clients. I expressed interest in him and they sent me their information." And I just want to give you some feedback about what they sent. Like, this is going to be interesting. For a first email, they sent through, and we have this, they sent through a 4-page long email, right? Founders are over communicative sometimes, they get excited, so they send through really, really long emails. This was an introductory email. It was 4 pages long. What was even better about it was he had a massive document attached to that. There was a 90-page IM. Now, if you want to make sure that an investor, once again, doesn't read any of your information whatsoever, what you should do is send them a 4-page long email attached to a 90-page deck or information memorandum highlighting every detail. This process is first about establishing interest. An investor wants to be interested in your deal first before they receive all the information. So, next time you get enthusiastic about sending out a massively long email to a first investor who has just registered interest or just expressed interest, refrain from doing that. It is not going to work in your favor at all. That is number 7. Number 8, okay. When you're actually working with companies, one of the worst things that you could possibly do for yourself is to hand over your capital raising to someone else and not take any responsibility, right? If you want to make sure that you're going to lead yourself into challenges, that's what you should do. Now, I understand the space that you're coming from. What happens is that often you'll speak to someone who's a professional at raising money, and they'll come and say, "Hi, John, love what you're doing, really think it's interesting. In fact, we've got some investors in our network that are actually looking for deals in this space." And then you start to think, fantastic, this could be an option. And then they'll say, "Look, but what we've got to do before we take your opportunity out to our investor network, we need to get it into the right shape." So they spend so-called 3 months, right, getting this into the right shape to go out to the supposed investors. But from your perspective, you hand it over to them. And then you're just waiting for the money to come in, right? Because you think it's done, right? At no stage ever are you to hand over the full confidence of your capital rate. You need to have visibility over what investors are coming into your deal room. You need to have visibility over who's looking at your information. Whatever said, you cannot take someone's word for looking at something, right? You need to actually see it for yourself. In my case, my board and even some shareholders can actually see all the investment interest that I get in my actual company, right? I will never hand over that interest again and solely rely on that. That is number 8, completely handing over your capital raising and having no visibility on it. Okay, now number 9 is that one of the fun things that we have is that when we're talking to companies, what they'll do is they'll have one conversation with an investor. And when they're having that conversation, the investor will often say to them, "Look, interested in what you're doing. Look, we're often pretty fast to move. And so therefore, said we want to take a look at your opportunity." And the company accepts that. That's completely cool. The challenge is that they actually stop speaking to other investors because of that one discussion, right? Said, if you want to make sure that you lose momentum in your capital raising, that is the best way to go about it. By relying on one potential investor that has no commitment to the deal whatsoever and that you're giving all the time in the world to do, right? That is definitely not the way that you want to actually go about it, because the challenge is that even if they actually do express interest, you, for example, do not have any leverage. Okay, so that is number 9. Number 10, not building interest in your offer before you actually go and raise money. Right, so one of the biggest challenges about raising money is you've got 2 dances. 1, you've got to actually build momentum. 2, you actually have to build time pressure, right? So what happens is we have companies that will come to us and they'll say, "Look, we want to raise money within a month, right? And we want to fit," and it's like they've already launched their offer, they haven't been speaking to anyone, and they've got these really short time frames. "Oh, and by the way, we want a minimum of 500K per investor," right? Now, this is not an uncommon story, which is why I like to share it. For yourself, not actually building momentum and not actually building pressure in your capital raising is going to make it incredibly difficult for you to be able to raise the money that you want in the time frame that you want. It is always a dance, make no mistake about that. But the number 10 thing is not having momentum, not having multiple people looking at your opportunity before you go to raise money. and just relying on one potential. All right, so that rounds out the top 10 for the list. Okay, I hope you found it relevant. For me, go back through this video multiple times. Some are funny, some are more serious than others. I can absolutely assure you that I have made at least 4 of these mistakes in my actual process, right? Which is why I want to share it. Said if you've made your own mistakes in capital raising, share it with us. We'll share it with other people. The idea behind doing all these videos is we want this community to share with us some of their challenges that they've had, some of the mistakes that they've made, so that other people don't make those same mistakes. Because all we want to do as founders is make it as simple as possible for the right investors at the right time to be the right investment for them in their share portfolio and come on board to our company. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the video. As I said at the start, like it if you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up. Share it with any other founders that you think can benefit from it, and obviously subscribe to our channel. I hope you enjoyed the 10 amazingly simple, dumb, and stupid things that you can do to f your capital raising.